Chosen one, nobody can do it better than you, and that restless fire burning in your chest isn't anxiety, it's your soul finally refusing to play small anymore. The universe has been throwing opportunities at your feet and watching you step around them like they're obstacles instead of invitations, but that ends today because what's trying to emerge through you requires the full force of your authentic power, not the watered-down version you've been serving to keep others comfortable. You're about to face the biggest test of your worthiness, not from the universe. The universe already knows what you're capable of. The test is coming from the people around you who have grown comfortable with your dimmed light. They've built entire identities around being better than you, smarter than you, more deserving than you. When you start stepping into your power, when that dormant potential begins to crack through the surface like a seed splitting concrete, watch how quickly the energy shifts around you. 3 specific situations are converging in your life right now, and they're all connected by an invisible thread that's about to become crystal clear. First, there's someone from your past who's been watching you from the shadows, analyzing your every move, calculating their moment to re-enter your world. Second, there's a person in your current circle who's been positioning themselves as your competition, desperately trying to outshine you while secretly studying everything you do. Third, there's a family member or close friend who's been giving advice about your life, advice that's been keeping you trapped in patterns that no longer serve you. Here's what they all have in common: they've underestimated the depth of your transformation. There's someone in your orbit right now, and you know exactly who this is, who has positioned themselves as your superior. They've crafted this perfect aesthetic, this flawless image, where everything appears effortless and abundant. They post the right pictures, say the right things, surround themselves with the right people. But here's what your intuition has been trying to tell you: it's all performance. Every single bit of it is calculated to make you feel like you're falling behind, like you need to catch up to their level of living. This person has mastered the art of making you feel second best without ever saying it directly. They've created an environment where you can never have an off day, where you can't be authentically human, where even your laughter has to be picture perfect. You find yourself editing your words, your appearance, your very essence when they're around. That's not love, chosen one. That's control. That's someone so terrified of your natural radiance that they've built an entire fortress of illusion to keep you believing they're the sun. Meanwhile, the person from your past, the one who walked away when things got real, when your potential became too intimidating, when commitment required them to grow, they've been living with a gnawing emptiness they can't quite name. They tried to fill it with new connections, fresh faces, exciting adventures. They convinced themselves that the grass was greener elsewhere, that their needs just weren't being met, that they deserved better. But every attempt to replicate what they had with you has fallen flat. Now they're experiencing something they never expected: genuine regret. Not the surface-level "I miss you" kind, but the soul-deep recognition that they discarded something irreplaceable. They're starting to understand that your love wasn't ordinary, that your connection wasn't basic, that your presence in their life was actually sacred. And this realization is creating a desperation in them that's about to manifest in ways you never saw coming. But the cosmic joke in all of this is about to reveal itself. While they've been busy constructing elaborate facades and chasing illusions, you've been doing the real work. Not the flashy social media-worthy work, the soul work. The kind that happens in silence, in moments of genuine struggle, in those midnight conversations with yourself about who you really are and what you really want. That work has been building something inside you that cannot be replicated, cannot be performed, cannot be bought. The third piece of this puzzle involves someone who's been influencing your decisions from the sidelines. This person, whether it's a parent, sibling, best friend or mentor, has been operating from their own unhealed wounds while dispensing wisdom about your life. They've been projecting their fears onto your opportunities, their limitations onto your possibilities, their past failures onto your future potential. Their advice has been keeping you small, not out of malice, but out of their own inability to envision the magnitude of what you're capable of achieving. All three of these dynamics are about to reach their breaking point simultaneously. The competitor is about to reveal their desperation. The returner is about to make their move. The advisor is about to be exposed for the limiting influence they've been. And you, chosen one, are about to see with perfect clarity how all of these threads have been weaving together to create one massive opportunity for your liberation. The beautiful part about your journey is that you've never needed to diminish anyone else to shine. Your light doesn't require darkness around it to be visible. But their light, it's been dependent on keeping yours dim. They've needed you to stay small, to stay questioning yourself, to stay believing that you're somehow lacking what they have. Because the moment you realize your true worth, the moment you step fully into your power, their entire illusion becomes transparent. The competitor has been investing enormous amounts of energy into maintaining an image that's completely unsustainable. Behind closed doors, they're exhausted from the constant performance. They're drowning in debt from trying to keep up appearances. They're emotionally depleted from relationships that are built on what they can provide, rather than who they actually are. But they can't stop now, because stopping would mean admitting that everything they've built is hollow. They've been weaponizing intimacy, using charm as manipulation, creating connections based on what people can do for them rather than genuine affection. They've become skilled at love bombing, overwhelming people with attention and affection until they're hooked, then gradually revealing their true nature once they feel secure in the dynamic. But this strategy is about to backfire spectacularly because you've evolved beyond the reach of their manipulation tactics. Right now, as you're discovering your worth, someone is praying behind the scenes, not for your happiness, for your return. They're manifesting, visualizing, desperately trying to call you back into situations that no longer serve your highest good. They want you to reach out, to chase, to prove that you still value what they represent. But the divine has a different plan, and that plan doesn't include you settling for energy that drains your life force. You see, what others have mistaken for your availability is actually your abundance. What they've interpreted as your need for their approval is actually your generous spirit. What they've seen as your weakness has always been your greatest strength, your ability to love without condition, to give without expectation, to see potential in people even when they can't see it in themselves. But generosity without boundaries becomes self-destruction, and your soul is finally ready to learn the difference. The person who walked away is about to discover something that will shatter their carefully constructed narrative about why things ended between you. They told themselves that you weren't ready for something serious, that you had commitment issues, that you were too complicated, too demanding, too much work. They convinced themselves that leaving was the mature thing to do, that they were being realistic about incompatibility, that time apart would help you both grow. But time apart has only made one thing clear: you weren't the problem, you were the solution they were too immature to recognize. Now they're seeing you flourish in their absence. They're watching you build the life they claimed you weren't ready for. They're witnessing you become the person they said you had the potential to be, but without them, and it's driving them absolutely insane, because it's forcing them to confront a truth they've been avoiding. They weren't elevating you, they were holding you back. The person who's been watching you from the sidelines, studying your every move, analyzing your patterns, they're about to make their move, not because they've suddenly realized your worth, but because they've finally recognized what they lost. They've been living in a house of mirrors, surrounded by reflections of what they thought they wanted, only to discover that none of it fills the void that your authentic presence once occupied. They're not coming back as the same person who left. They're coming back with strategies, with plans, with carefully crafted approaches designed to appeal to your soft heart and forgiving nature. They've been getting advice from people who don't know you, who don't understand the depth of your spirit, who see relationships as games to be won rather than connections to be honored. The advisor in your life, the one whose guidance has been subtly sabotaging your progress, is about to be revealed for what they really are, a projection of limitation masquerading as wisdom. This person has been operating from a place of deep insecurity about their own choices, their own missed opportunities, their own settling habits. Every time they've counseled you to be realistic or practical or patient, they've been asking you to join them in their self-imposed prison of mediocrity. They've been threatened by your potential because it highlights their own unlived life. They've been discouraging your dreams because your success would force them to confront their own inaction. They've been promoting settling because your elevation would expose their own compromises. But their influence over you is about to be broken permanently, because you're finally ready to trust your own inner guidance over anyone else's fears. Some well-meaning person in their circle has convinced the returner that you're still waiting, still hoping, still open to recycling old energy. They've been told that all they need to do is show up with the right words, the right gifts, the right timing, and you'll welcome them back like nothing happened. They have no idea that you've been transforming in their absence, that you've been healing from wounds they didn't even know they caused, that you've been discovering parts of yourself that never needed their validation. The cosmic comedy is that while they've been plotting their return, you've been building a life that no longer has space for their particular brand of chaos. While they've been maintaining their image for an audience that doesn't really know them, you've been cultivating relationships with people who see your soul and celebrate it. While they've been afraid to show vulnerability, you've been learning that true strength lies in authentic connection. The Obsidian Inner Order is where you can process difficult realizations together every week on our Zoom calls with people who understand that some of life's most painful experiences become our greatest teachers. We don't encourage bitterness, we cultivate wisdom. Your ability to see people's true character is a gift that will protect you from future betrayals. Your willingness to forgive while maintaining boundaries shows strength, not weakness. Your wisdom was earned through experience, not given freely. Connect with people who value truth. Join the Obsidian Inner Order. Link in the description. WOC, the competitor, the returner, and the advisor have all been connected this entire time. The competitor has been feeding information to the returner about your activities, your emotional state, your apparent availability. The advisor has been reinforcing the competitor's narrative that you're not ready for real success, real love, real happiness, and the returner has been using both sources to time their approach for maximum impact. They've been planning their moves based on who you used to be, not who you've become. This is the moment, chosen one, where everything crystallizes, where the lessons reveal themselves, where the growth becomes undeniable, where the choice becomes clear. They're going to show up, in person, through messages, through mutual friends, through circumstances that feel too coincidental to be random. They're going to present themselves as changed, evolved, ready for something real. And your heart, that beautiful, generous heart of yours, is going to want to believe them, but your body knows better. Your intuition knows better. That feeling in your gut when you think about re-entering their orbit, that tension in your shoulders when you imagine having those conversations again, that fatigue that washes over you when you consider giving them another chance, that's your inner wisdom speaking louder than it ever has before. The competitor is about to reveal their desperation in a way that will shock everyone who's been fooled by their performance. When they realize that their carefully crafted image isn't enough to eclipse your natural radiance, when they understand that all their strategic positioning has been ineffective against your authentic power, they're going to drop the mask entirely. The person they've been pretending to be will dissolve, and what emerges will be raw, ugly, and completely unhinged. They're going to attempt to sabotage opportunities that are coming your way. They're going to spread subtle poison about your character to mutual connections. They're going to try to convince others that your confidence is actually arrogance, that your standards are actually impossible expectations, that your success is actually luck or manipulation. But their attacks will backfire, because people with genuine discernment can always sense the difference between someone speaking from wounds versus someone speaking from wisdom. You weren't just passing time while they were gone. You weren't just waiting for them to get their act together. You were becoming someone who no longer needs what they're offering. You were discovering that the love you were seeking from them was always available from within. You were learning that your worth isn't determined by who chooses you, but by how you choose yourself. The person who's been envying your journey, who's been competing with your progress, who's been spreading subtle poison about your character, they're about to face their own reckoning. All that energy they've invested in bringing you down has been depleting their own life force. All those strategies they've employed to make themselves look better by making you look worse have been building karmic debt they're about to pay. The advisor who's been limiting your vision is about to experience a crisis that will force them to confront their own unlived potential. Whether it's a health scare, a relationship ending, a career setback, or simply the dawning realization that they've been living someone else's definition of safety, something is going to shake them awake to the cost of their conservative approach to life. They're going to see what happens when you play it too safe for too long, and they're going to regret every time they counsel you to do the same. Meanwhile, you're standing at the threshold of something magnificent. All that time you spent questioning yourself, all those moments you wondered if you were enough, all those experiences that made you feel like you were falling behind, they were preparation. They were building character, developing discernment, strengthening your ability to recognize genuine connection from manipulation. The opportunity that's been calling your name, the one that requires you to step completely out of your comfort zone, the one that demands you show up as your most authentic self. It's not just a career move or a relationship shift. It's a spiritual assignment. It's the universe saying, we've been preparing you for this moment, and now it's time to trust everything you've learned. The returner is going to make one final desperate attempt to reclaim their place in your life. They're going to show up with tears, with promises, with elaborate plans for how things will be different this time. They're going to acknowledge their mistakes, accept responsibility for their choices, and paint a picture of a future that looks exactly like what you once dreamed of building together. And for a moment, just a moment, you might be tempted to believe that people can really change that quickly, that love can really conquer that much history, that timing was really the only issue. But then you'll remember something crucial: change and transformation are not the same thing. Change is modification of behavior to achieve a desired outcome. Transformation is evolution of consciousness that makes certain behaviors impossible. They've changed their approach, refined their strategy, improved their presentation, but the core programming that made them incompatible with your energy the first time, that requires the kind of deep inner work that takes years, not months. Everyone who's been underestimating you is about to witness your true power. The competitor who thought they could outshine you is about to discover that you're not even playing the same game. The returner who thought they could waltz back into your life is about to learn that some doors, once closed, require entirely new keys to open. The advisor who thought they could keep you small is about to watch you soar beyond their highest imagination for your life. You were never the problem in any of those relationships that didn't work out. You weren't too much, too sensitive, too demanding, too complicated. You were simply too evolved for connections that required you to operate at a lower frequency. You were trying to build cathedrals with people who were content living in shacks. The resolution of all these intertwining situations is going to be swift and decisive. The competitor's mask is going to slip so dramatically that everyone will see them for who they really are. The returner's desperate attempts to reconnect are going to reveal the depth of their delusion about what you represent to them. The advisor's limiting influence is going to be exposed as projection, and you're going to trust your own wisdom above all external voices. And in the aftermath of this cosmic clearing, you're going to stand in a completely different reality. The relationships built on your insecurity will have crumbled. The opportunities that required you to hide your intelligence will have disappeared. The situations that demanded you minimize your gifts will have dissolved. Everything that was out of alignment with your true nature will be gone, making space for connections and experiences that actually match your elevated frequency. The beautiful truth that's emerging from all this chaos is that everything you've been through was necessary to prepare you for what's coming next. Every heartbreak taught you discernment. Every betrayal strengthened your intuition. Every disappointment clarified your standards. Every moment of feeling misunderstood was actually preparing you for connections with people who speak your language fluently. Right now, someone is trying to manifest you back into their life, lighting candles and saying prayers, and visualizing scenarios where you return to them, transformed but somehow still willing to accept less than you deserve. But the divine has been working on a different manifestation, one where you attract people who never require you to shrink, opportunities that celebrate your uniqueness, and experiences that nourish your soul. The most powerful realization approaching is that you don't need closure from people who open doors you're grateful they walked through. You don't need apologies from people whose behavior taught you exactly what you won't tolerate again. You don't need reconciliation with people whose absence has improved your peace. As this entire situation reaches its resolution, you're going to witness something miraculous, the universe responding to your elevated standards with elevated opportunities. The person who's meant to be in your life is going to show up without games, without manipulation, without the need for convincing. The career opportunity that aligns with your purpose is going to present itself without requiring you to compromise your values. The friendships that nourish your soul are going to form naturally, effortlessly, joyfully. The ending of this cosmic drama isn't about who comes back or who stays gone. It's about you finally understanding that your value doesn't fluctuate based on other people's capacity to recognize it. It's about you claiming your place in rooms where your presence is celebrated, not tolerated. It's about you building a life so aligned with your truth that anything out of harmony naturally falls away. The restless feeling that opened this entire journey, that energy pushing you toward opportunities beyond your comfort zone, is about to be revealed as prophecy. The nudges you've been receiving to invest in yourself, to show your personality more boldly, to speak up when every fiber wants to retreat, they were preparing you for this moment when your voice would matter most. There's something else unfolding that's even more profound than the individual situations resolving themselves. Your entire energetic signature is shifting into a frequency that magnetizes authentic abundance. The people who've been draining your life force are discovering they can no longer access your energy the way they used to. It's not that you've built walls, you've simply evolved beyond their vibrational reach. Watch what happens in the coming weeks when the competitor realizes their carefully orchestrated schemes have been rendered completely ineffective. They're going to experience a kind of spiritual vertigo, a disorientation that comes from discovering that all their manipulation tactics were built for a version of you that no longer exists. They'll try harder at first, escalating their efforts, becoming more obvious in their desperation. But eventually, they'll exhaust themselves against the force field of your newfound self-worth. The returner is about to experience something even more jarring. They're going to attempt to use memory as manipulation, bringing up specific moments from your shared history, reminding you of inside jokes and intimate conversations, trying to resurrect emotional responses that once guaranteed your attention. But they're going to discover that nostalgia no longer holds power over you when it's being weaponized for control. You haven't forgotten the good times, you've just learned to value yourself too much to trade your peace for temporary recreations of past comfort. They're going to present themselves as the missing piece to your happiness puzzle, never realizing that you've been building an entirely different puzzle, one where every piece reflects your authentic nature. Your family dynamics are about to shift in ways that might initially feel uncomfortable, but will ultimately liberate everyone involved. The relatives who've been treating you as the family therapist, the ones who dump their problems on you expecting infinite emotional labor, are going to discover that your compassion now comes with boundaries. This isn't you becoming cold, it's you becoming whole. Someone in a position of authority is going to recognize your unique perspective and offer you a platform that feels both thrilling and intimidating. This opportunity will come with a choice: play it safe and maintain the status quo, or trust your vision and risk standing out in ways that make you undeniably visible. The version of you from months ago would have chosen safety. The version of you now understands that your gifts weren't meant to be hidden. Your relationship with money is undergoing a fundamental transformation that's connected to your relationship with your own worth. The scarcity mindset that kept you accepting less than you deserved financially is dissolving as you recognize that your value isn't negotiable. This shift is going to manifest in unexpected ways: opportunities to monetize skills you didn't know had market value, people offering to pay you for wisdom you've been giving away for free, recognition for contributions you made without expecting compensation. But more importantly, you're going to stop apologizing for having standards about how you're treated in professional settings. No more accepting below market rates because you're grateful for the opportunity. No more tolerating disrespectful communication because you need the income. No more sacrificing your well-being for someone else's profit margins. Your new relationship with your own worth is going to create financial abundance as a natural byproduct. There's a creative project that's been gestating in your spirit, something you've been afraid to birth because it feels too personal, too vulnerable, too uniquely you. The cosmic alignment happening right now is creating the perfect conditions for this creation to emerge. The people who would have criticized it, minimized it, or tried to change it to fit their vision of what you should produce, they're being cleared from your creative space. Sleep is going to become restorative again, instead of a battlefield where you process everyone else's drama. Your appetite will return as you stop feeding your spirit with toxic connections. Your energy levels will stabilize as you learn to preserve your life force for pursuits that actually nourish you. This isn't just healing, it's remembering what vitality feels like when it's not being constantly depleted. The geographical location where you've been living is either going to transform to match your new frequency, or you're going to feel called to relocate entirely. Spaces that once felt like home might start feeling constraining. Environments that once seemed exciting might start feeling draining. This isn't about running away from problems, it's about moving toward resonance. Whether it's a physical move or an energetic shift in how you relate to your current environment, your surroundings are going to begin reflecting your internal transformation. You'll find yourself naturally gravitating towards spaces that feel sacred, people who speak your language, communities that celebrate authenticity over performance. The most unexpected gift emerging from this entire cosmic reset is your relationship with solitude. What once felt like loneliness is transforming into sacred communion with your own soul. The hours you spend alone are becoming the most nourishing parts of your day, not because you're avoiding others, but because you're finally enjoying your own company. This comfort with your own presence is creating a magnetism that draws genuine connections while repelling energy vampires. People who are threatened by others, who don't need constant validation or entertainment, find themselves naturally avoiding you. Meanwhile, souls who recognize the rare gift of someone who's comfortable in their own skin are drawn to your energy like flowers turning toward sunlight. Your intuitive abilities are sharpening to a degree that might surprise you. Dreams are becoming more vivid and prophetic. Random thoughts are proving to be accurate insights about situations you couldn't possibly know about logically. Your ability to read energy, to sense intentions beneath words, to feel the truth of situations before they're revealed, these gifts are amplifying as you learn to trust them. This heightened sensitivity might feel overwhelming initially, but it's actually your spirit's way of ensuring you never again ignore the red flags that your logical mind might rationalize away. You're developing spiritual radar that will protect you from future manipulation while guiding you toward connections that truly serve your highest good. You're discovering that choosing yourself wasn't selfish, it was necessary. Every boundary you've set, every standard you've maintained, every time you've chosen your peace over someone else's comfort has been an act of service to your highest purpose. The restless feeling that opened this entire journey, that energy pushing you toward opportunities beyond your comfort zone, is about to be revealed as prophecy. The nudges you've been receiving to invest in yourself, to show your personality more boldly, to speak up when every fiber wants to retreat, they were preparing you for this moment when your voice would matter most. And the most beautiful part is that you don't have to convince anyone that you deserve what's coming. You just have to be ready to receive it with the same grace and power that carried you through everything it took to get here. The test is over. Chosen one, you passed.